Hey, you. Yeah, you. Hey. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 2020. For some, this year was tough. For some, this year was amazing. I'm part of the tough year. This has been by far the toughest year that I have ever had to live through in my 30 odd years of life. um, so in this video, we're going to be talking about me having COVID and how that was, me losing my dad and how that is, me having to have emergency surgery and what that was like. So if you're interested, please stay tuned. Give this video a like. Please consider subscribing. Let's get into the video. So I work as a nurse in a nursing home with the population being majority elderly. I got sick with COVID pretty early on in the year when COVID was now starting to really hit the U.S. During that time, PPE was scarce. We didn't have N95s. We didn't have the gowns. We were really just using the surgical masks. And even that was very scarce at my facility, at least. So during this time, I'm caring for people who have COVID and I am not properly protected. And again, this is the elderly who are, the saying, once a man, twice a child. It is so true. In this population, they don't, cover their mouths when they're coughing or if they're not feeling well. They just, they just are. And while caring for them, a lot of them were like, coughing in my face and just being sick. And I can't I can just say, well, I'm not dealing with the sick patients. I'm just going to deal with everyone else. So inadvertently, I got sick. It started off as a little tingle in my throat. I'm like, okay, I feel like, I need to cough. And I remember being around my boyfriend and trying so hard not to cough because I didn't want to be looked at like, you got the Rona. But little did I know, I had the Rona. And then then I started taking my temperatures. And little by little, it just kept going up. It was 100 point this, and then 101 point this, and then 102 point that. And I'm like, okay, it's official. I went to urgent care to try to get tested. And at that time, tests were far and in between. They would only test those that are like on their deathbed. If I walked in coughing, sneezing, having all the classic symptoms, but I was able to walk in and talk, they were not testing you. And I'm like, well, I'm a nurse and I need, to know whether or not I have this. And they were just like, well, we can't give you a test. So being that I am a nurse, I know how closely COVID affects your lungs. So I requested a chest x-ray, and that revealed that I also had pneumonia. And again, all the classic signs of COVID: the cough, the body aches, the weakness. Apparently, I lost my taste and smell. Did not know that until it came back. That's funny. During this quarantine, my mom took very good care of me. All the traditional things, the, garlic and onions and all the herbs, teas, and she would make a steam of like orange peels and onion and garlic and all this extra stuff, and she would boil it on the stove and then bring it to my room. And then I would have to have a towel over my face, and just inhaling all of that really made my lungs feel a lot clearer and a lot better. All the nastiness that goes on in a Caribbean household, all the nasty herbal, goodness that no one likes to take, but it's good for you. My mom gave me all of that. And shortly I recovered off of COVID, but was still having the shortness of breath, with the pneumonia. But I survived it. I did not have to be hospitalized, so that was great. I returned back to work 3 weeks after leaving with COVID. My O2 saturation went up, and by the time I came back, we were better prepared with the PPE, and that's my experience with COVID. So, on to losing my dad. I am going to try really hard not to cry. My dad passed away on June 15th. It was a Monday, a day I probably will never forget. I remember I worked the Sunday night. I'm a night nurse. I worked the Sunday night and came home and went to the park and worked out for a bit, and came home and went to sleep. And my dad was downstairs. My dad is usually downstairs. It's his den, it's his area, and this is just where he stays all the time. So after working out, I just went upstairs, took a shower, and went to sleep, and slept for a few hours. Then around 3 o'clock, I woke up. I remember I was supposed to meet up with my boyfriend at 4 o'clock. So I set my alarm for 3, woke up. And shortly after I woke up, my mom texted me and asked me to go check on my dad because she hasn't heard from him all day. This is not the first time that that's happening. My dad is like the worst with cell phones, and he'll just drop the cell phone somewhere and no one knows where that cell phone is. So it's not the first time that she's asked me to go and check on him. And every time I do, usually he's just sleeping because he also works at night. So I came downstairs and opened the door, and he was laying on the couch. And usually I just look for his chest to rise and fall, the nursey thing to do. I'm standing in the doorway and I don't see that. I don't see his chest rise and fall. So I begin to scream, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And of course he doesn't respond. So I get closer and I touch his face, and he's cold. And I lose my natural mind. I go crazy. I remember, thankfully, my brother was home. And I ran upstairs, and I'm like, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And he's like, "Daddy, what?" And I'm like, Daddy's dead. And he's like, "What?" So we run downstairs, and I'm just screaming. Now, please keep in mind, I've been a nurse for 13 years. Like I said, I work in the geriatric community, so I've come across my fair share of dead bodies. But nothing can prepare you for seeing someone that you love in that state. It was no amount of training. No amount. I'm screaming, I am crying, and my younger brother took control of the situation. And honestly, if he was not there, I don't know. I just don't know. Anyway, we go upstairs. We're calling, at this time my mom is at work, and we called 911 and told them what was going on. And I'm just like, something came over me, and I'm like, Melissa, pull yourself together. Like, you are a professional. You can do this, right? So I tell my brother, let's go back downstairs. Let me do CPR. I can do it. Let's go. I said, help me bring him to the floor, because at this point he's on the couch, and you need a hard surface. Anyway, I go to grab his legs. I feel how cold he is. I feel how stiff he is. And I just know, I'm like, never mind. I'm going to be doing a lot more damage than I am good at this point. I already know. I already knew what it was. But some part of me just wanted to fight for him. So I told him, never mind. And I just began to continue to lose my mind and continue to scream and cry and, be of no help. And then the police comes, and they're like, there's a dead body here, so we're going to have to call a detective and, the coroner. And then the coroner, when the coroner comes, they're going to take his body. And at this point, I'm like, no one's touching my father until my mom gets home. It is not happening over my dead body. So at this point, we called my mom and we told her, you need to come home. Everything's fine. Drive safe. Just come home. And she's like, what happened? I'm not about to tell her that her husband of 36 years has passed away. And, over the phone, I'm not about to do that. So I'm just like, drive safe, get here. Everything's fine. We just need you home. And it's like, we live on Long Island and my mom works in Brooklyn, which is a while away. And at this point, it's 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's traffic. It takes over an hour for my mom to get here. Thankfully, it also took the coroner a while to get here as well. My mom made it maybe 10-15 minutes before the coroner came, which was good because I thought I was going to go to jail that day, because I'm like, you guys are not moving him without my mom coming home. That's just not happening at all. And I was willing to go down fighting to make sure that was what it was. Anyway, so naturally, I'm just in a state of shock. I can't fathom how someone with so much life, if you ever met my father, if you ever met him, you know how much life he has or had. And I can't understand how someone with so much life just dies. And I know you're like, well, Mel, what happened? My dad had a heart condition, or my dad had cardiac issues. And basically what happened is his aorta, which is the main artery in your heart, burst. So he died while sleeping. He was so peaceful, laying in his favorite spot, in his favorite robe, eyes closed. And I think that's the only thing that gives me peace, is the fact that he didn't look like he struggled to 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 get help, or you know that he was in any type of pain. It really just looked like he fell asleep very peacefully in his it so to this day it is so hard for me to go and check on my mom when I haven't heard from her in a couple of hours, or when I think that she should be up in the morning and she isn't yet. And I just cannot bring myself to knock on the door or, make sure. So now what I do is I stalk WhatsApp, because WhatsApp tells you when was the last time that person logged on. And if she was online, within a reasonable time, that brings my anxiety down. And I'm like, okay, I can go check, or I feel okay knowing that she was just up, not too long ago. So, but it is really hard for me to continue to deal and knowing that he's not here. My dad was cremated, and knowing that he's in the house, I know might be weird to some, but brings me so much peace knowing that I can come downstairs and talk to him, figuratively, obviously. But just knowing that a part of him is still here in this den, just makes me feel a little bit more okay. So I'm going to insert this beautiful section that my mom made for him of just different little things of his. I'm going to insert it here. Okay, so how did a stomach ache turn into maybe cancer to emergency surgery? So one Sunday, around maybe 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I woke up with the worst pains in my stomach. I mean, the worst. I was laying next to my boyfriend, and I remember trying so hard to, sleep through the pain, and it just wasn't happening. So I got up and I went to the living room, and the pain it was coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. And I'm like, bent over in pain, literally in the fetal position. And then my mom came upstairs in the living room, and at this point, it's like 7 a.m. in the morning. So I've been dealing with this pain for quite some time, and she's like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know. I just have really bad gas pain. I tried soda, I tried tea, I tried to go poop, I tried everything, and this pain just wasn't going away. So then about another hour, my mom was like, let's go to the hospital. Like, this is not okay. Let's go to the hospital. Went to the hospital. Of course, it's during COVID time. So my mom and my boyfriend dropped me to the hospital, but they couldn't come in the emergency room with me. And so while I'm in the emergency room, they do, run all these tests, and I go get imaging. I can't remember if it was a CAT scan or an MRI. I don't remember what it was, but I went to go get imaging. And this imaging showed a really large mass in my stomach. And I already knew that I had fibroids. I knew that the fibroids had gotten really big. And I knew that I had to have surgery for this fibroid. But I was trying to finish school. Anyway, that's another story for another day. So while in the emergency room, the doctors come back in and they tell me that there's this large mass, and from the imaging, it seems to be cancer. And I'm like, wait, what? No. I think it's a fibroid. I had a fibroid there, and I know that it's been growing, and I'm pretty sure that it's a fibroid. And he's like, well, from the imaging, and, we consulted an oncology doctor, and he also thinks that this may not be a fibroid, and it may in fact be cancer, a tumor. And I'm like, so you just told me that I possibly have cancer and I still can't have anybody come? Y'all gonna have to fix that. So the doctor was like, okay, we'll allow one guess. So my boyfriend came and he spent the evening with me in the emergency room, and then it came back that I will have to be admitted because I have to have surgery to get this out, because the mass was pressing on my intestines, which was what was causing all that pain. So fast forward to being admitted, and because this mass was so large, it pressed on the main vessel that's like in your back, was causing me to have really high blood pressures, dangerous blood pressures. It was 180s, 190s over 100s, 110s, 115s. It was really high, and the doctor just thought that it was too high for me to have surgery on that day. So he wanted to take the next 2 days to try to bring my blood pressure down. So I'm taking blood pressure medications just to make it safe for me to be able to have the surgery to remove this mass. In the meanwhile, I'm thinking this could be cancer, and during these couple of days, I met with the GYN team because I was still very convinced that this was just a fibroid. But they just weren't sure and would only know basically when they opened me up, they would know whether or not this was, what this was. So fast forward to surgery day, the scariest time. I was so scared. I'm like, please let me live. I don't know if my mom could deal with my dad and me in the same year, weeks apart, basically, at this point, because at this time it's July 12th, 14th, someday like that. And my dad only passed and my dad only passed a month prior to. So I'm just like so worried that I'm about to, die during surgery, not because of the surgery, but because of my blood pressure. And they did everything. They did a echo, they did EKG, everything. And my heart seemed to be working fine, but still that, that fear of just not waking up was really, really scary. But then I have the surgery and everything goes well. During the time of all the imaging, this mass was so big, they couldn't tell what my ovaries were doing. So they thought that maybe this mass had encompassed my ovary because they couldn't see it on any imaging. And the surgeon was telling me that, he's going to try, because I'm young, I have no children, he's going to try his hardest to make sure that my fertility is intact. But he can't make any promises, because if he goes in and see that this mass has encompassed my ovaries, then he will have to take it. So I'm just a world of worry. I think I'm going to die. I think if I do live, I'm not going to be able to have children. It was just so much. Anyway, fast forward to surgery day and everything goes well. It turns out it was just the fibroid, not cancer, thank God. It didn't encompass my ovaries, so my fertility is intact. And everything went as smooth as it possibly can. I'm going to insert a picture of my 10-pound fibroid. Yes, 10 pounds. I basically had a baby. I had a fibroid baby. So I'm going to insert it here. So if you do not want to see it, because it is actually with me on the surgery table, skip forward 10 seconds. Do that double tap as YouTube does. So as you can see, it was pretty large. Like I said, I knew that it was there. I knew it was something that I would have to have surgery for. They discovered it almost a year and a half ago prior to that day. So I already knew that it was something that needed to be out. But it just grew so large that it was then, obstructing my intestines, which was causing all the pain. And I needed emergency surgery, or else it could damage more of my intestines. I had emergency surgery, all while still dealing with the loss of my dad. 2020 was rough, but somehow, with God's grace and mercy, I survived. But 2020 wasn't all bad. I did have some good in this year. Firstly, I was able to spend the entire summer with my boyfriend. I met him when I was already in school. So my time was the time that we were able to spend together was lacking. I was in school full-time, worked full-time. So I literally only saw him on my days off, or maybe a weekend off here and there. So being able to spend that much time, three months with him, was amazing, because after the surgery, I got 2 months off of work. So I was able to spend the entire summer with him. So that was amazing. I got the news that I'm going to be an auntie. My brother is having a baby. So that was excellent news in 2020 that I'm so looking forward to 2021, just being an auntie. I mean, I have a lot of godchildren and, aunties of my friends and stuff like that. But, just having like a real auntie moment is just amazing. I was able to travel to Cancun this year, and that was amazing. It has been on my bucket list for some time. So being able to experience that with my boyfriend it was just amazing. And I started back clinicals. Because of COVID, we were kicked out of our clinical sites. And I was not able to graduate in 2020 like I thought. Instead, I'm going to be graduating in 2021. But starting back clinicals, I have an amazing preceptor that it's just everything that I can ask for, honestly. And I thank 2020 for that, because had we not been kicked out of our clinical sites, I would not have come across her. And she's just turning me into an amazing midwife to be. So that is all the good that I took out. What I look forward to in 2021 is completing my master's and becoming a midwife. I am so excited to finally be in a role that I've sacrificed a lot to be in. So that is going to be amazing. Looking forward to that. Again, looking forward to my niece and spoiling her rotten. I am looking forward to having an apartment of my very own for the first time. I look forward to that. And I look forward to continue to grow and learn and travel and love and laugh in 2021. 2020 was not the nicest, so I'm expecting more from 2021. It better be better. But if not, I feel like God will continue to bless and continue to show the good amongst the bad and give me the strength to endure. So that was my 2020 in a nutshell. What have you had to survive in 2020? Drop it down in the comments below. Tell me, what are you looking forward to in 2021? Another thing I'm looking forward to is a new president. Yes, Lord. Finally, we're going to have a change of power with Biden and Harris, and couldn't be prouder, couldn't be more excited. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. Remember, you can spend a lot of time doing something you absolutely hate. So why not spend that time in trying some things that you might actually love? Don't forget to mix it up. I'm MixyMel. Bye.